Let me start by sharing this story. And that person is me. I didn't know how to lead or how to be authentic. I didn't know my purpose when I grew up. This is a picture of me in my young years when I worked as a construction painter. I grew up in a working class family in Sweden. My mom was working with interior, textiles and so on. My dad was in construction, building houses. So I didn't know what to do, and my dad thought, well, I build the houses, someone needs to paint them. So he told me to become a painter. That was the first purpose and direction I had in my life. So I became a painter. I worked painting houses and buildings, and that was all my life. That was all I knew. I worked day to day to receive a paycheck on Friday. And that was all. Then one day I was driving my motorcycle in Sweden, and I got hit by a car. I ended up in hospital, and I had to stay there for some time. The doctor told me that I couldn't come back to work as a painter. He said, your neck and back is too injured now, you need to go back to school. I resented that, I got angry at the doctor because I didn't know anything else. And for some time, I was just sitting at home, being depressed, and wondering what's going to happen to me now. How can I earn money when I have no job? I was also not very good in school. I hardly finished high school. I didn't really know how to motivate myself. But with that accident, something inside me talked to me and said, Nick, you have to accept what is and go back to school. That's what I did. 1998, I moved to Australia to study because my English was not good enough. So I looked at the map, where can I learn English? And I decided to go to Australia. Over there, my first day in school, I listened to the dean of the business school. He gave a talk, a motivational talk. And he said, here at university, we want you to study hard, we want you to hit good grades, top classes, there's scholarships for you. And then he showed diplomas. If you top your classes, you're going to get all these rewards and gifts. And something inside me started to really go on fire as he was talking. Then he shared, if we look at the World Cup in football, how come the gold medalists are lifting the trophy, they are so happy, they are celebrating, and the silver medalists are walking off the pitch crying? He said, why don't we approach our life like that? Why don't we approach our studies and our career by really giving it our best, giving it our best? And he fired me up, something inside me. For the first time, someone gave me some direction. And I got taste for success. I put things aside, I started to study. I worked harder than everyone else. Weekend, evening, it didn't matter, I studied. And I started to get better and better. I got the scholarship, I topped classes, and I was relentless. For the first time, I got taste for success. Looking back at that, I can say that it's quite addictive. It's quite addictive. I didn't realize it at the time, but now I understand where it was. So after my studies, I came into the corporate world as an executive. I started work in Bangkok as an account executive, account manager, account director. Then I worked in Vietnam, I worked in Indonesia, all around the region until I reached managing director roles. The roles that I looked at as I started as an account executive, I only looked up. Then I elbowed my way all the way to the top, pleasing my bosses, doing what my bosses told me to do. But I did it at the cost of my team. I didn't think about the team. It was all about me hitting my goals and getting what I wanted. Once I hit the top, and I had everything I wanted, house, driver, maid, gardeners, big salary, bonuses, I realized, what do I have all this for? I'm not happy. With that, I hit a big depression. I got anxiety attacks and I didn't know who I was. I thought to myself, I studied so hard. I worked so hard all these years to reach here. Why am I not happy? Something was missing. With that, I became delusional. I resigned from my job, a well-paid job, without knowing why. I filed for a divorce with my wife, again without any reason. And with that, I separated also from my son, who was 5 years of age at the time. That found me very lonely, isolated, and I ended up sitting lonely on a bar stool with a smile on my face. I lost all my healthy habits. I gained a lot of weight. And while I had a smile on my face there, it was to not to be questioned. because inside me I felt lonely, I felt lost, and I was unhappy. With that, and having alcohol in my body, eating too much, this was what my left foot looked like. It was swollen like an elephant foot. I couldn't even get my shoe on at the time. It was only later a psychologist diagnosed this as a psychosomatic illness. I had such severe mental health issues and pain inside me that it started to show up on my outside of my body. And I did everything I could to hide it. At this time, I could hardly get out of my bed. I was just hiding in a deep depression at home. That then led me to the lowest point of my life, which is only a few years ago. In 2018, I was starting to plan my own funeral. I couldn't see the path out. I couldn't imagine how can I get out of this. Why did I study so hard? Why did I work so hard to get everything of this? And here I am lying in bed, lonely, isolated, lost everything I had, left everything behind. In fact, I left Jakarta with a one-way ticket, leaving a house full of furniture and all my belongings. I didn't even want it. I didn't care. That was the state I was in. So with that, I thought, why not just leave this planet? So that was the state I was in. Today though, 6.5 years fast forward, I'm remarried. I've been given a second chance in this world. I'm married to a guardian angel named Donna, who's by my side, not today, but always by my side. And I'm an Ironman athlete, indeed. I competed in Sweden on the weekend, and here is a special thank you. This is you are a Viking of the North medal, which only 400 people all over the world got. I traveled to Sweden to compete in 2 races. I train with the young athletes who are going for Asian Games. I have Vietnamese, Indonesians, Thais, the best athletes who are 17 to 20 years old, who train for Asian Games and Olympics. I train with them, and I'm 49. So I'm more than double the age of the people I train with, but I say we are never too old to grow young. Can we say that on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. You are never too old to grow young. That is how I live every day now. And going around the world, joining Ironman, triathlons. I even today came off the plane last night. This morning I'm out running on this beautiful beach, feeling like a teenager. And we have some Ironman competitors at the end here as well. We're going to sign up some goals today, right? Right. And then apart from that, I'm traveling the world. I'm almost fully booked until January, traveling all around the world to beautiful places like Sri Lanka, Maldives and so on, speaking at conferences, doing workshops, and helping people to find their purpose. What a change in 6 years! So I'm going to share with you today a couple of tips and tricks and how I did this turnaround. Would you like to know that? Yes! Great. Because if it's not for yourself, it might be that you have someone near you who have perhaps lost their way. It could be a family member, it can be a colleague at work who perhaps is losing a bit of touch with themselves, or it could be a friend of yours. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about leading with purpose, and I would like to ask you, what does it mean to lead with purpose? Anyone? Anyone? What would you say? What does it mean to lead with purpose? It's the last session of the weekend, so let's see.
Take a risk. It means you're looking at the end you want to achieve.
Yes, absolutely. You're looking at your goals, where you want to go, and also with a purpose also means that you have a vision for it. It's also very linked with your values. So if you're looking at my life, the way I led before, it was not my direction. It was my father's direction, the dean of the school's direction. It was my boss's direction. It was not my direction. The goals can then drive you in the wrong direction. So leading with purpose means that you need to be aligned with who we are. If we don't know who we are, we might follow someone else's path. So why does this matter? Well, if we lead with a purpose, research say that workplaces are 30% happier. 30%. Engagement increased with 25%. And this is recent research by Gallup. Team productivity increased by 17% if your teams have a purpose and they do purposeful work. We're talking about a lot of the issues around staff turnover. We just had a conversation on the table here, what to do with staff retention. Well, if you can get everyone in your team to understand their purpose and the values of themselves, you can decrease your staff turnover with 22%. That is the kind of work that matters here. What lies on the other side? Well, again, my story, lack of motivation, poor performance, sick days, burnout, depression, and at the extreme end, this is suicide. At the extreme end of this, if you don't address it, lies suicide. And I'm not going to have to ask the question who here knows someone who died of suicide, because I'm sure every hand will go up. But I believe like this, we have to be comfortable talking about the uncomfortable. We need to address these topics. We cannot just push them under the rug and believe that they go away. They won't. We have to address it. So that's what I did. I developed the 5 steps to leading with purpose and authenticity. I will share these 5 steps with you today so that you can take this roadmap with you home today for yourself, for your family, and for your colleagues. It's a very simple formula. And the first step is surrender. The second step is purpose. The third step is connection. Then we have goals, and finally discipline. So that's what we're going to cover now for this session. And there will be a bit of interaction at each step for you. And then at the end of it, hopefully you can leave fully ignited and go home and lead with purpose. So let me take you back to step 1. So when I was planning for my own funeral, when I was lying there in bed, when I couldn't see the way out of it, I did something. For the first time in my life, I changed everything. I did a complete surrender. I stopped the fighting. I started to accept what was. And I was completely ready and open. With this surrender, I also sat down Donna, who today is my wife, and I decided to be completely honest about my feelings for the first time in my life. Because I thought if I was going to die anyway, so why not share with her? She was completely shocked, surprised, because she had no idea that I was going through a difficult time. She thought I was cheerful, joyous, all the time having a good time. She could see I gained a lot of weight. She thought it was that I enjoyed the food and we went out partying. She didn't know that I was suffering. No one else knew either that I was going through a very difficult time. It didn't show, apart from that I had some weight. With this surrender then, the next step was to surrender and accept something bigger than myself. It was time to do something that I had not done since my childhood. It was time to let God back in my life. With this, I'm not talking about religion per se. It was just to accept that I'm not the center of the universe, that there's something bigger out there, and everyone can decide for themselves what that is. I started to pray, and I still pray today, every day. And I carry this coin in my pocket still today with a prayer that I remind myself the reminder to myself every day to keep doing the prayer, keep being grateful, and keep appreciating that something bigger out there. So that was the second part of the step 1 of surrender. So now I have a question for you, and you can ask and spend 2 minutes with a partner sitting next to you. So think for yourself, is it something outside of your life that you need to surrender to? In my case, it was that I had to start speak up. I had to also surrender to alcohol. I had then at the time become addicted to alcohol. I was becoming an alcoholic. I had to surrender to that to be ready to seek help. Other things people might want to surrender to could be social media addiction, food addiction, drugs, alcohol, gambling, anything like that. That is an addiction that can be so powerful in our life. But many times we're in denial. I was in denial until the moment I surrendered. So now please discuss in pairs. I just give you 2 minutes here. Is there something in your life that you need to surrender to? And if you are 3 on the table, you can talk 3 minutes.
years I do this now. Not having the midlife crisis yet. I'm looking into public policy. I'm at my age, so to find out so I think it's just midlife crisis. Like before when we were young, yes, for your children. Yes.
Okay, let's have two volunteers who can probably share for 30 seconds or so. Anybody would like to share? Anyone would like to share what you like to
Okay, I think it's my habits to be better for me is still listening habits. To this one area, to listen, especially when areas where it really triggers you. So that's one area for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. I have better listening skills. Fantastic. Big applause. Anyone else?
Thank you. Yeah, so I was just sharing with my Mickey around the table, where I've got two young adults as children, both are working. Generally, as a general rule, I'm quite a person who lets go of things. I do not try to control much, because I work very much myself, so I'm quite of a certain mode. However, there's a bit of work still to be done. Because, especially my son, as a mom, my son told me, asks me, Mom, can't you just stop micromanaging my life? So, probably on this one, I have some work to do. Just let him take care of himself, let the rest, let life take care of himself. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, you are beyond them too much, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for that. You got the hang. And you have pen and paper. If you don't want to share it, I can encourage all of you to write it down. It's about being honest with yourself, to yourself. If there is some issue, only us can write it down and own up to them. And I'm around after the session if someone wants to talk to me one-on-one about it as well. So thank you for being brave and sharing. Once I had surrendered, it was about finding my purpose. So as I mentioned, I had no idea what my purpose in life was. I thought it was first to do what my dad said, then what my teacher said, and then what my bosses said. And you saw that that led me to myself planning for my own funeral. That was the wrong path. So now let me ask you, do you know your own purpose in life? Do you know your purpose? Only a few. Has anyone written down their life purpose statement? Anyone who's done the CCMC, I'm sure. Okay, so a few. So, yes. And if we look about what Mark Twain says about purpose, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. That quote has such a meaning for me. After the journey I've gone through, I can understand what it means to that. It's like my life before, when I didn't know my purpose, and my life, when I know my purpose, it's like two completely different people. I'm a completely different person. So think for yourself about the impact this can have on your life if you really go deep and find out who you are. Let me share about another person here who obviously didn't know his purpose. This is Simon, a former colleague of mine, someone who's a HR professional. He was working in Singapore, and we were working on events together. He had just been to Mount Everest, where he climbed up the base camp, and it looked like he was living the dream of his life. When we were planning for one event, at the rehearsal, he didn't show up. I looked at my phone and I had all these messages, and Simon was gone. He had died of suicide. And I became sad, shocked, angry, because I was quite close with him. I had no idea that Simon was going through a difficult time. And I was then thinking back, wow, I went through something like this. Imagine where I could have gone unless I surrendered, unless I broke the pattern, unless I spoke up, unless I asked for help. Simon was in that stage that I was when I was hiding it. He was hiding it. No one knew what was going on. That terrified me. So my rock bottom, when I planned my funeral in 2018, Simon died in 2019. But Simon's death went with a new journey for me. I decided to set up a campaign with SOS Samaritans, a suicide fund, and a hotline in Singapore. I called them up and I said, I want to be your fundraiser and volunteer for life. I will do everything I can to try to save lives from suicide. And part of my purpose that day was, if I can even save one life for the rest of my life, it would be worth living. And that was in 2019. And that's the key reason I'm here to talk to you today. Behind all of this purpose and authenticity, that is what we're talking about here. Because ultimately, if we get this right for ourselves, for our colleagues, our friends, and our family, we don't have to lose anyone else to suicide. That is what it's about here. I made a post 5 years ago on LinkedIn that went viral. That was the first time I was open and public about my challenging journey. Until then, I shared it in a closed circle. But I made a video, posted it on LinkedIn, it's still up there. When I shared about my struggle, I shared about Simon's death, and I said that I would continue to do this work. That went viral. It's so uncommon that someone talked about this on social media that people were shocked. But they also shared it, commented, and so many were writing. Hundreds were writing within a few hours saying, I just lost my sister, I lost my wife. Keep going, keep sharing the message so that we can sort this out together. So that fueled me, and then I got so much motivation from that. I was coming closer to my purpose. The calling in my life, why I'm born here, it is to spread this message. Articles started to pop up all over newspapers, magazines. In Singapore, I had a 4-page feature in the New Straits Times and the Business Times, which is the biggest mental health media exposure in the history of the country. They were ready to hear these stories. Most often, all executives they spoke with before said, you can interview me, but you cannot have your name. I said, you can interview me, you can have my photo, I don't care. So with that, I did a career suicide. I knew that I maybe never be able to be hired by a company again because I'm talking on topics that are uncomfortable. I said, I don't care. My purpose and my mission is to prevent suicide, so I keep going, I don't care. Then I wrote a book about it. Little did I know that it would become a bestseller in US, Australia, and UK and Canada. In men's health, mental health, where I'm talking about these issues openly. And I'm sharing this with you just for you to see how I started coming to my purpose and getting my calling in life. So think and reflect for yourself. What is your calling in life? Is there something that is waiting inside you? Something that you can keep going? And I saw before that not everyone has a purpose statement. You don't know your purpose. This is not something we easily can do by ourselves. I got through a training actually, and I know some of you here have gone through the CCMC. When we look at our life purpose statement and we write that, there's technique for this. And you can do this also. You can look online, you can talk to a coach and a mentor to help you find your purpose. Part of the exercise, and here's a clue for you. Think back, what did you love to do as a child? Maybe when you started your career, you become a mom. Maybe you became so busy, you forgot about yourself. You forgot about the things that really, really are important to you. When I went through this exercise, I spoke to my mom. I asked my mom, what did I love to do as a child? And she took out photo albums. She started to show me albums. She said, Nick, as a child, you always were cycling. And she showed me these kind of photos. Page after page, she said, we had to run after you. Everywhere, we had to run after you to catch you, always cycling everywhere. And you see the smile I have on there, and I get that just looking at cycling. And I love cycling today. I picked up cycling and in my adult life, and that's a part of me. That's closer to my purpose, my calling, and what I love to do. So think for yourself. What did you love to do as a child, or perhaps as a teenager, before you get married, or before your corporate career? And look into that. Double down on what you love and your natural calling. You will come closer to your purpose. And with that, I would like you to talk in pairs, share something that might be your calling. What did you love to do as a child? Just 2 minutes now in your pairs.
Singing terpaksa
Yeah, you had to do things like
watching TV Bangkok champion.
so many you look in school with big families, with many siblings.
Yeah.
But are you only living in the same city or different city?
What do you mean?
Yeah, okay. For the rest of New Year, I guess.
What session?
Siblings and then the children, it's big family.
Nearby island.
I have no connection. So much. We live in London.
Yes.
When we talk about the play, we spend
One.
during the Chinese children, New Year, like Chinese send a phone, like,
Sorry, lucky. You can take that one. One hour actually book time here
Hi, yes, Laura from Malaysia. So my I was but now as working as an employee, as a manager, you tend to read about leadership or management books, but I couldn't find the time. So I learned to go back to the time when I can read a lot of books.
I love it. Thanks for sharing. So reading novels is something else.
What else?
share.
Okay.
I just share my memory at like 5 or 6 years old. I work in a poor family and in the village, but I hear the voice from the famous singer, and I love to be a singer at that time, and also to be a teacher. That's mean, in my memories, in daily work, I will be the teacher, and at night, I will be a singer. But that's still consistent until now. So now I love singing, but I'm not singer now. But I work in HR, so I think linked to the future career.
You can be a singer tonight.
Now's your opportunity.
Why you keep asking these questions? Well, imagine if as a young child you love to paint drawings. Every day you'd spend hours doing drawings. And then you come to your first grade, and you're sitting there making a drawing, you're very proud of it. And your teacher goes over to you and look at it and say, that doesn't look any good. What do you think will happen with your passion for painting? Anyone else? What do you think will happen? Passion will die. we'll get so much pain that maybe we'll never paint again. But it's about bringing that out. It's inside all of us to bring that out as an adult. You have a comment from Victor?
Yeah, I don't think you can hear me. I remember I used to like reading a lot when I was a young boy, about 8 or 10 years old. And I remember I was reading a book in a maths class and I was severely rebuked for it and for not focusing on the maths class. And so it affected my enthusiasm for reading. I still like reading. I don't get a chance to read as much as I like to, but I remember being rebuked because I was reading at the wrong time. So, like the person drawing in the class, not only was it not that good, but at the wrong time. You should not be doodling in the class. And I think sometimes teachers can crush our enthusiasm for stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Teachers can do that. Parents can do it. So that's why, write down all the passions. Think back what did you love to do? There might be some self-doubt also that stopped you from chasing your passion and your purpose. And I've done lists. I've done a lot of deep work on myself. Really written everything down. I've been thinking back about every self-doubt, the major decisions I've done in my life, and then now in the work on myself, seeing if I can change those decisions. I identified one big decision when I was at university. I did a Master of Public Relations. I wanted to study a Master of Psychology, but I was scared, and I thought, no, maybe it's too difficult for me. So I didn't do it, so I thought it's easier to do public relations. That was 20 years ago. Guess what I'm starting to study in October in Singapore? I'm going back to school. I'm starting at the School of Positive Psychology. Just sharing that, I got goosebumps all over my arms now, because that was limited belief. I didn't believe in myself. I cannot do it. Guess what? I can do it, and I'm going back, and I'm gonna do it. So my question to all of you is, what decisions have you made in your life that you can go back to and change and do it now? Because why? You're never too old to grow young. Remember? Can we say that again? You're never too old to grow young. Exactly. This is what it's about, the purpose. So once we have some purpose in ourselves, then we are ready to address the next one, which is connection. As I shared with you, myself, I was wearing a mask. Many people are wearing masks. We're covering up, we're not our true self. It's about finding that connection with yourself, really, by doing the deep work we have discussed. After that, it's about finding connection with other people. And while I had superficial friends and so on before, I had to really get real. I went into a lot of the rooms, men's group, support groups, 12-step recovery programs. I went into the 12-step AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous you've seen in the movies. I owned up to my mistake. I said, I have a problem with alcohol. I'm here to sort it out. I owned up to my own mistakes, and I said, I want to address this. Since I walked into that meeting in 2018, I've not had one alcoholic drink. For 6.5 years, not one drink. And I will never have again. That's at least my promise to myself. So think about yourself. What decisions can you address? What issues, when you surrender, what can you go back and address? Do you spend too much time on social media at night so you cannot sleep properly? What can you address and change those decisions? It's in your control. I had to get remarried, and I had to live my life being the person I wanted. I had to choose a wife who was suitable for me, not someone who I thought would be suitable for my parents, who would be appreciated by them. I feel sorry for my ex-wife for having made a path. It was the wrong path. Again, I was too influenced by my parents rather than my own decision. I joined a lot of clubs and associations. I find my own tribe by joining cycling clubs with like-minded. Think for yourself. What do you love? Join a Nobel club or set up your own Nobel reading club. And invite your friends and read books. If you love to do drawings as a child, then join a drawing class now. It's not too late. So join the clubs where people speak your language. It's about finding tribes. Here am I in my triathlon club in in Phuket, Thailand. I even moved to Thailand because I live in an athlete training camp with teenagers now. And I feel like a teenager when I'm there. I have the same energy, if not more than the teenagers when I'm there. Because I'm there because I want to. So where do you want to be? Where do you get the full energy? Where do you live to feel like a teenager? This is my coach, my accountability partner, who trained me, 𝐬𝐸𝐴. He is one of the top 10 athletes of all time in the Ironman sport. He's feared in Kona, Hawaii at the World Championship. He trained me and he sent me the plan. Think who are your mentors, your coaches, who can bring up the best in you. Sign up with them, and call them and work with them. Here am I cycling in a competition outside Bangkok earlier this year. You see the smile almost ear to ear. It's the same smile as I had in that photo as a child, because I found myself. I do the hobbies I love to do, and I'm fully connected and living the life that means something to me. As I looked into this, I found out that actually what makes us happiest and live longest is the connection. It is the positive relationships that make us happy as people. This study by Robert Waldingen at Harvard University is the biggest study on happiness in the world. And he agreed that if you want to live long, it's having positive relationships. At the other side of this, he says, if you have broken relationships, it's as dangerous as smoking 14 cigarettes a day. So if you have something unsaid, a fight with your mother, your husband, your children, and you're going to bed with that, you might as well start smoking. You might as well start smoking. That's how dangerous this is, and we need to clean up all our broken relationships and make amends. Here is a picture of my son. I damaged him by the divorce, obviously. He got moved to Sweden with my ex-wife. I was still in Asia, and I was mentally sick at the time. I didn't know how to deal with it. I had to go back to him and make amends. I had to own up to the shit, my own shit. It's hard to say that word, but that's it. I had to own it. And I didn't know how. I was scared. I didn't know how to do it. I went to see a child psychologist working with me in Singapore, who had to guide me and help me. How can I talk to my son to make things right? And I did that. I got all the training from her, and I went to see him, and I said, I'm sorry. And then she guided me to come into his world. This is him in Sweden playing IT games a few years ago. And I blocked 3 hours every Saturday. She said, John, tell your children what they should do. Come into their world. And that's what I did. And we spent 3 hours every Saturday. That was the most important 3 hours of the week for me. That was when he played game with me and showed me around his world. I came into his world. We built a bond, I made amends, and he forgave me for what I've done. These days we are very close. This is me and him in Poland. Just last month on holiday. He's a big boy, he's 15 now, he's much taller than me. We have a very open relationship. He would tell me if something goes wrong in school, because I will never raise my voice, I will always coach him and talk to him like he's an adult. Everything from that there's been crime in the school, there's been drugs, other things, he will call me and say, Dad, this happened in school, what should I do? And I would be there to coach him through it. He decided that he wanted to change school because there was too much bullying and violence in his school. I supported him. He moved to another town. That is the decisions. I stand right behind him. And that is the relationship which is built on me having my purpose and not pushing also on him what he should do. He can decide what he wants to do himself. So now, on connection, how many hours each day do you spend to invest in your own relationships? You can just raise your finger. If you're 1 hour a day, 2 hours, or 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours. How many hours? I see 3 hours a day. Anyone else? To invest in your relationships. This could be from cycling with your friends, going to see them, reading books together. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I would say spend time wisely, invest in your relationships, because that is your tribe. That is what I do. When I cycle, I also socialize, for example. When I go for a run or swimming, I join a group in a class. So think how important it is. Then the next step is goals. Who of you have goals or KPIs at work? Everyone, right? Yes. Okay, now, do you have personal goals written also? Yes. You have them written down, yeah? Okay, good. I had the pleasure of, with ITD World, to have Brian Tracy speaking to us in Ho Chi Minh City in 2010, and he talked to us about goal setting. And I will share a few of the tips and tricks that work for me. And the most important thing is to have goals in all areas of our life. This is the wheel of life, the 8 areas. And I had to learn to really write important goals for all areas of my life. So think for yourself. As you said, you have written goals. Make sure that they actually are in all 8 key areas of your life. Here are just a sample of 3 of my goals in Ironman and best-selling author and TEDx. I keep writing and I keep focusing on my key goals to drive me forward. That's what I achieve, why I achieve what I have achieved these days. And make sure that they are smart. Your goals need to be smart. Anyone knows what SMART stands for? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound. Yes, exactly. So when you do your goals, write them down. Make them smart for yourself. So if you have written down goals now to start reading novels, right? When are you going to do this? You're going to start a club to do it. Make it specific by the date and how it's going to happen. So the Ironman Triumph, I'm going to the World Championship at the end of this year, and I already put a goal on my time, how I'm going to perform, and then I give this to a coach, and he works with me to reach that goal. That's how I achieve the goals. For best-selling author, I'm working on my 2nd book, and it will be a coaching book about mastering your destiny. I'm writing on that, and it should be a bestseller by May 1, 2025. That keeps me focused. I have a date. I know what I want to achieve. For TEDx, I had a goal this year. My biggest goal was to become a TEDx speaker. And guess what? I'll share with you. I already actually achieved it. This is a letter from Indonesia, from TEDx. They invited me to give a TEDx on healthy habits next month in Jakarta. Why? Because I'm focused, I know what I'm doing. You're sending out positive energy to the universe, and it can read your mind. You can see what's happening. They're calling out from TEDx and say, hey, we heard that you're talking on habits. Can you come to Jakarta and give a TEDx? And for my Ironman goal, I'm super focused. For my 2nd book, I'm focused. I will just make sure that's happening. As Brian Tracy says, the only thing that stands between you and achieving the goals and your dreams is yourself. It's the self-doubt, right? And that's what we discussed earlier, how you can rewrite your own story by going back in time and addressing the things. Like me, who was too scared to study psychology 20 years ago. How do I fix it? Well, next month I start to study that psychology course, 20 years later. So now on the goals, we're coming towards the end of today's session soon. So here's the homework for you. Write the 8 goals for yourself. And you can take the note here of the different areas. So this wheel there is called the wheel of life. If you want to search it online, you can take a picture and then write the goal for each area of your life. Once you've done that, and this is the Brian Tracy formula, and it works. Circle the goal that really, really is the goal on your list that stands out the most. And if, when I'm speaking today, if you already have something that stands out, you can circle it now. In my workshops, we go very, very deep into this, where we actually give you 20 minutes to sit down and write the goals. We make sure that they are smart. But I'm also around after today's session if you want to share your goals with me, and I can look at them, or at least a few of your key goals. So circle the ones that really stand out most for you. Once you've done that, it's about sharing the goals you circle. Talk to someone, your coach, your mentor, and discuss it to make an action plan then towards it. So your homework also is really to make an action plan for the goal that will change your life. So what are the changes in your life? In my story today, as you can see, I ended up in the wrong career, with the wrong wife, the wrong hobbies. I ended up studying the wrong. My whole life, if I go back, was wrong decisions. Decisions made for parents, teachers, bosses, self-doubt. The path was completely wrong. So really think back about your decisions, and hopefully you did more right decisions than I did. But you're never too old to grow young, so you can fix them, you can go back, and you can do them now. So then, once you have your goals in order, it comes down to discipline. And I know this is really the most important one perhaps, and it's the last step on the 5-step journey. Because Everyone set out on a course, and we're excited perhaps the first day, and then we stop. Maybe we feel overwhelmed. So let me ask you, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. One bite at a time, yeah. So let me share with you, on the weekend I competed in the Ironman Sweden. So I have done the 3.8 kilometer swim, and I had a record. The fastest swim of my life was on this weekend. Then I cycled 180 kilometers, but after the cycle, I was completely gone. I could almost not feel my legs. I was completely exhausted. My mind told me, there's no way that I can run a marathon now. And I started and I was like this, and I was almost giving up. I thought I'm just going to stop. I achieved a lot in my life, I just stopped anyway, never mind. But then I thought, no, let me just run 100 meters. And I started to run 100 meters, then I thought I run 100 more, and I continued like that until I reached 1 kilometer. Then I repeated that 42 times. 42 times to complete the marathon, and I hit my own best of my whole life, the fastest race, despite being older. So that just shows we're never too old to grow young. So here is what my calendar looks like, and it's about the discipline. If you don't stick things in the calendar, they're not going to happen. So whatever we discuss, the time for reading novels or whatever it is that we're talking about here, put it in the calendar. It should not just be your work, what the bosses put in for you, or the meetings. Put in what matters. I have already put in 3 hours of self-time for myself in my calendar for the rest of my life. 3 hours a day. And that's normally exercising or reading, meditating, and prayer. And that's non-negotiable. It doesn't matter. I will take those 3 hours a day. And everyone, including my wife and family, knows that and respect that. So think about for yourself. Don't be too cheap on yourself. You are the most important in your life. Block that time in your calendar for the rest of your life. Have an accountability partner. This is my coach again, 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐺, one of the best Ironman coaches in the world and former top 10 in the world in the sport. I reached out to him, and when he said, Nick, I will coach you as your triathlon coach, I said, I feel honored. I said, how much is it per month? And he said, the fee. I made a transfer of 24 times the amount per month. And he said, Nick, you sent too much money. You sent me 24 times a month. I said, no, I want to make sure that you coach me 24 months so I don't stop. Because it's about the discipline here. I felt honored, so I thought if I make the transfer, then I'm not going to stop, otherwise I pay 1 month. What's going to happen? Oh, it's tiring, I don't have time for this, and then I stop. But now I paid for 2 years in advance, so he keeps sending me the training plan every Sunday. He keeps sending the plan. Of course, I was tired in my legs here yesterday after the flight, and after traveling all the way around the world on the race to come here for this conference. Guess what? My coach wrote to me, Nick, you can go for an easy run in Danang today. So what did I do this morning? Like this in the beginning, very, very painful. You know, I'm 49 years old. But after 10 minutes, the leg was up again like a teenager. So I ran out here this morning, and I feel young and healthy and fit again. That is what an accountability partner does. So think about your mentors, think about your coaches. Your wife and husband can be your accountability partners. Get out there. Be healthy, be happy, be young, and discipline yourself to stick to it. Because remember, you are never too old to grow. Exactly. So think now of everything we discussed today. How will your life be different when you go back and you address the things that are your fear, perhaps your self-doubt, the big decisions in your life that were wrong? Go back now and make them with full of purpose, and then you discipline yourself to stick to them. How will your life change that? My life, I'm 6 years into it, and I feel newborn. I just share with you a small taster of how my life has changed since I started. I wanted to become a coach before, but I was feared. Maybe it cost too much, I didn't do it. This year I became a CCMC Master Coach by 𝐼𝐴𝐷O World PhD here at the back. And his team is here. I have now set out for my next journey as a chef to study my psychology masters. I've prepaid my coach for another 2 years to keep fit and healthy and young. I'm here to share with you today how you also can do this for yourself and others. So that's really what we've gone through today. The formula of surrender, purpose, connection, goals, and discipline. Thank you, everyone. And remember that you're never too old to grow young. Exactly. And I have a gift here. A gift for someone who can remember the 5 steps.
Yes, and in order.
Yes.
Proper order. Anybody who can enumerate in the proper order the 5 steps in ensuring that we lead the key steps. Okay.
So, yeah, Sharina from Malaysia. So, surrender, purpose, connection, goals, and discipline.
Yes! Congratulations! Thank you. But is there anyone else who would like to have a copy of the book?
Yes, us.
Okay, well, there's a QR code here with a free e-copy for everyone. So you can download it here for free. And otherwise, it's available on Amazon as a Kindle paper book, but also on Audible as an audiobook. Many CEOs like to listen to it when they go for a morning walk. So now my last call to action before I let you go here is really think about what is your #1 action right now. And I would just like to pause here to share with the partner sitting next to you. Out of everything you heard today, what are you going to take action right now when you walk out of here? I'll give you 1 minute to share that.
Okay, let's hear an answer from this table. What is
also down there.
And also, anybody from this table? Next step? Yes.
What is the #1 action you're going to take right today? Write it down for yourself. You're the most important one in your life.
Okay, here.
Let's see.
Hi, I'm Z from Singapore. I think the #1 action that I'll be taking right away is to block off deliberate time to think and reflect about what was shared. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. The one in blue.
Thank you, Nick. I am very lazy at doing exercise all of my life. And at the time I said that, oh, I look at people who do marathon and really admire them. I said, oh, I would never be able to do it this life. And then at some point I tried half marathon and I did it. And so listening to you, I will try to do so. First thing is tomorrow run to Danang city.
I will run with you.
Yes, that is my question.
We'll run tomorrow, right?
Yes. So my question is that are you willing to meet the Run with Nick tomorrow morning and invite everyone who wants to join?
Yes, what time?
5 or 5:30. 6 will be quite hot. So
Okay.
5 a.m.
5 a.m. reception tomorrow. That's the accountability partner, that's the discipline. See you there, 5 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's a great way to end today's session. I just have a last slide here, and if everyone wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, and if you make a post about today on LinkedIn, tag me, I promise I will be commenting and sharing. Thank you so much, and if final time, you are never too old to Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. We might have questions, so we can open the floor for 2 questions. Yes, Lai.
Thank you, very impressive and with your sharing. I think that I also have some private action. But my question is that before I have some burden because I out of my control is procrastination. Yeah, I think this, I'm aware of it, but I cannot influence. So can you share some tips or what is your advice so that I can make it happen step by step?
Thank you. Procrastination is a big one, isn't it? Especially if we have it in our own head and we share it for ourselves. I would say the most important here is accountability. Who can you talk to about it? Do you have a coach, or do you have a mentor, or some friend you can share about it, and then set some goals for it, and then discipline yourself to do it, and have an accountability partner. Like tomorrow, we're going to meet in the reception, 5 a.m. for the run. That's accountability partner. I will put my alarm at 4:45, make sure I'm ready in time for it. So everyone now, the homework, put the alarm 4:45, everyone. Right? No procrastination there. Okay?
Thank you, Lai. Lai, we have a gift for you. From Korea. So one more question. Anybody like to ask a question? Yes.
Mr. Anna from Malaysia. Yeah, I'm just like I like to personal time for exercising. So just like this today I went for beach run for 2 days. I went to the city 2 days ago. So it's part of my activities. I love to do and like to more. I feel that I'm just too comfortable with my own self with the exercise.
So any question is?
So my question is from now, what's next for me for goal? If there's something I'm looking forward.
For the goals? Yes. Yeah, so think of the 8 wheels, the wheel of life, there's 8 areas in your life. I can go back to that image so everyone can get the photo if you like. So make sure that you fit in each of those areas of your life. You write the goal in there. And for you, if it's exercise, then it falls under the health, for example. And write the goal that you're going to run 3 times a week, or you're going to, that's a short-term goal for that. And the long-term is you're going to run the Kuala Lumpur half marathon in November. You write that goal and then you sign up right away. You pay for it, so your registration is done. Then you sign up for the Kuala Lumpur Running Club. You have an association of friends and partners. Then you tell your friends, then you tell your wife and everyone else that you're going to run the marathon, and with that, you'll be on your way. Does that work? So see you tomorrow 5 a.m. for a We get more and more runners. What was your name, sorry? Zoom. Yes. Okay, so Zoom, we have a lot of runners tomorrow. Thank you.
So we'd like to give a token of appreciation for the generous sharing of practical tips on how we go about it. And don't forget tomorrow. Thank you. So, hang in there for our closing ceremonies, right? So let me give the floor now to our MCs, Grace and Ricky. Oh, by the way, we're going to wait for the other participants, and we're going to open the partition. Please wait for a while. And while waiting, yes, while waiting, you might want to talk to Mr. Jonsson.
So,
Tiếp tục